Hey everyone, Untitled Chapter back with another video, and today I want to showcase another Ash Hell Stage 2 team comp. We're going to be brute forcing it this time, and I have it a 100% win rate with this strategy. It's pretty cool, so let's jump into it. So this is going to be the comp, and we're running a very traditional Ash comp, except instead of William, we're running Hakron. So this is, I guess, a little bit more achievable, although you still need Blackhorn, you still need Nathalia, yada, yada, yada. But this is more of showcasing the strategy beating this dungeon and how we can kind of apply it to the other dungeons. And that's really to do with the gear. So let's go ahead and jump into the gear of each of these characters here. So first up is going to be Nathalia. Now, I have a guard set on her, which allows us to go ahead and get that buff up. If you do not have a guard set, go ahead and have your Hakron be the fastest member, at least faster than Nathalia here, so that he can apply that max HP up and go ahead and get that buff so we can get the attack up and all that good stuff so that Nathalia can kill out the waves. And here are the stats. We have max crew rate, 144 speed. We do want to go before the waves. After that, it does not matter. So all we need is about 129 speed in order to go before the waves. We have 4.6k attack with 298% crit damage. You don't need quite this much stats, but you do need quite a bit of stats in order to clear out the waves. And the first set of imps as we get to the boss, although if you don't clear out that first set of imps, it's actually probably a little bit faster, but I can't get my Nathalia to max crit rate while also having the ability to not clear out the imps. The next one is going to be Santis here, and we do have a revival set on Santis. Now, this is the very crucial part. She only has 64% focus, which is a little low. This would really benefit from having about 80 to 100% focus on our Santis. Even with the 64% focus, we are still winning 100% of the time, as I showed you from those 10 runs earlier. She's got 21k HP, 1500 defense, 196 speed. You do not need to be this fast at all. This is just kind of coming from accidental sets and raider sets and things like that. The thing to pay attention to is this number at the bottom. I showcased this previously, but this is 51 agility. I used agility previously with Hakron to kind of beat out the Ash boss, and that was kind of like, oh, we're losing because we don't kill off the imps consistently enough. Let's run agility to make it work. Now we're going all in on agility. So 51 agility, you need at least 45. 45 is the break point in order for you to deflect 100% of the time in dungeons where you are positive affinity. So we have water characters. We're going against fire. 45 agility is all we need in order for us to deflect 100% of the time from my experience. It could be like about 46, 47, maybe, but from my continuous testing, we've deflected 100% of the time. Now, the way agility and precision work is basically for every point of agility, it basically gets mitigated by 1 point of precision. And so you start at a baseline of 100 precision from the NPC monsters, and you have 5 agility to start. When you have elemental advantage, it has a 50% chance to deal 50% less damage. What that actually means is it's basically like having a bunch of agility. And so 45 agility basically gets you to that point where you're deflecting 100% of the time, in addition to the elemental advantage that you have, which is basically a hidden form of agility. So that's super important on Santis. And we also have the same stats on Hakron in regards to agility. You have 53 here. 80% focus, don't really care about that. We have 122 speed and 3300 defense. Obviously, if you want your Nathalia to go ahead and hit every wave and you don't have a guard set, you need that speed above Nathalia's speed, whatever that Nathalia speed is. And then we have our last member, which is Blackhorn, and same principle, 52 agility. The focus doesn't really matter. You can go with high focus on Blackhorn for a little bit extra survivability so that the boss doesn't do as much damage. It doesn't matter for me. I had enough healing and survivability. 1700 defense and 24k HP almost on this Blackhorn. It's important that you have a lot of HP so you're healing enough. And it's important that to have kind of this specific speed tune in regards to Blackhorn going after the boss. And I'll explain that later on. Everything else doesn't really matter. You just need Blackhorn to make sure that he's going after the boss. So we're going to go ahead and run this and just showcase how powerful agility actually is, because we just completely ignore the mechanics of the Ash boss here. Running defense down and the healing spell. The healing spell helps us survive a little bit, because it does get very, very close at some points. And then the defense down spell is there just to kill off the waves here with Nathalia, because without that, we're going to be struggling in this first wave, clearing out everyone. So we are going to be using basic only on Santis. She did end up using her ultimate there, but it doesn't really matter because my Nathalia has enough damage to clear out all the imps. Now, if you do not have enough damage to clear out the imps on the first wave with 2 hits, you can actually run Santis with her abilities on, because she'll do a little bit of extra damage for this first wave. That being said, if that's the case, you're going to need extra tanky stats for the boss fight so that you survive an additional round, because you're not going to land as many poisons on the boss. With being her second skill, not landing poisons, you're going to not have the extra 6% or so that's going to end up basically beating the boss just perfectly. Now we'll have the second wave, and Hakron and everyone's going to help us clear out this last imp so that you don't need the defense down. It still is a little bit close with the stats I already do have on my Nathalia. Now, with the change to Hakron, this is super important. This is why we don't necessarily need a William or a guard set. The max HP stacking is going to count as that buff. And so right here, you're going to see that we're actually going to have 4 buffs with the max HP, the shield, and the attack and the immunity, which allows us to kill off all the imps. This is actually something that you probably don't want to happen. Obviously, I have not tested it where it doesn't happen because I have too much stats on my Nathalia, but we're trying to get the boss to actually use the cannon with the imps up. And that's super, super important because just like the way the Mary and the Ice Wolf comp works, you're using the boss sacrificing his own HP in order to speed up the run. And this is the same principle, except instead of using invincibility, we're just tanking through it using agility. We're mitigating more than 50% of that damage that the boss is doing with that ultimate when the imps are alive. Now, this is going to literally have the exact same outcome every single time. The only exception is Santis sometimes gets poison resistance. As you see there, one of her poisons was resisted. If that does happen, you're going to have a couple of extra turns you're going to have to go through. Fortunately, my characters are tanky enough to survive, and so that's not a big deal, but it's much better and much quicker to just run additional focus on your Santis if you can get the agility and the focus and the HP. It is quite stat heavy with that agility in order to run this comp, but fortunately, you don't need absurdly insane stats in your Nathalia. You don't need your brands, the Hydricias, things like that. And here you are, the boss is going to go ahead and use that ultimate. All of our characters deflect, and we just tank through it. The imps survive. Not a big deal. We're just going to deflect every single imp hit. And this is why we have Blackhorn go after the boss here. You'll see in just a moment when his healing spell comes back up, and we're going to get healed in just clutch timing. So we're going to go ahead and just have all the joint attacks happen, and not a big deal. The deflection is whatever. And you're going to see here, we're going to get really low on our Santis, about 15% HP, and we're barely going to live. And that is mainly due to the revival sets and the healing and everything. Here comes the big hit from the Ash boss. And then if we actually go ahead and not kill with the poison ticks here, that's when Blackhorn comes clutch. But we actually landed enough poison ticks to not showcase why Blackhorn going after the boss is important. Right here, if that poison tick doesn't kill off the boss, you're going to want Blackhorn to heal up just in perfect timing. Not a big deal. It's actually beneficial for your Blackhorn to go after the boss anyways, because you don't need any extra speed on him. And it honestly doesn't matter a crazy amount if your characters are tanky enough. But that's the power of agility. You just completely mitigate the fact that the boss's cannon is supposed to be a one-shot kill for everyone if the imps are alive, and the extra damage the imps are doing isn't enough to get through our Hakron max HP stacks, the defense and agility that we have, plus the revival set. So that's going to be pretty much the showcase of how powerful agility is. I believe you could run this exact same theory for Queen if you get that 45 agility on your Mathasia, your Yolanda, your Baluk, your Rogs, and you're going to have no problem getting through Queen 14. Probably a little easier than otherwise if you had to run pure tankier stats on your characters. But that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. And hopefully you go ahead and start looking out for your agility rolls, because they are going to be important for PvP and PvE, I think. So that'll be it. I'll see you for the next one.